people probably made more money in the 60s, I think, farming than any other year. But before that, if you didn't make much, you wasn't hurting because you didn't spend much. Just instead of paying a big mechanics bill, you could fix just about everything that broke with a piece of baling wire. Well, when we laid the cotton by, we would harvest our hay then and corn for the mules. And we would give the hands that labor to do, and they would get paid by the day for that. And that would take up most of the time until they started picking cotton. And of course, when they wasn't working, they fished. These bayous were live and had a lot of fish at that time. And they hunted in the wintertime. A lot of rabbits, a lot of squirrels, a lot of bobwhite, quail.
That's something. It was a different time.
Oh, it was altogether different.
Yeah,
That's, and I don't know what really happened first, whether the labor started moving first or we started mechanizing first. But it more or less happened about the same time. But I think mechanization ruined this country. A lot of folks won't agree with me, I'm sure, but that's what I think. Of course, it's bound to have happened sooner or later, but it was much more enjoyable as far as I was concerned back in the mule days. I remember the first one I bought, I told my daddy that, I think I told him I spent $2,000 for it. And he said, good gracious, said, I used to live and make a crop on that much money. Another thing, back in those days, most plantations had a sorghum mill, and the tenants all had a patch of sorghum, and they'd cut that sorghum, bring it into the headquarters, and grind it up and make molasses. And molasses was a big staple back in those days. You know, very healthy too. Back in those days, we had houses scattered across the place on the particular piece of ground they were working. And folks later on moved those houses into the headquarters where they could farm it more efficiency with equipment. And they jammed them all up, and they didn't get along as well as they did when it was scattered all across the place. I remember the little FN tractor came in. It was a little Ford tractor. And the small farmer back then benefited more from the mechanization than the large farmer, because the large farmer already had his system. The small farmer that maybe had 30 acres of cotton, he was plying a pair of mules, and then when the little FN came in, he was able to sit on that tractor and not have to follow those mules all day. And then that tractor worked more land than that, so he worked a little bit more land, and then he got his brother-in-law and he rented some, and that's the way some people got started.